In the beginning, the earth lay in chaos, a vast expanse filled with potential. Among the celestial beings were the Anunnaki, powerful beings from the distant planet Nibiru. They were tasked by the Galactic Council to oversee the appropriation of gold to restore the atmosphere of their home planet. The council convened, and Enki, the chief science officer, spoke. "Let us bring order to this chaos. We shall create a realm filled with life." With their collective voice they proclaimed, "Let there be light." Light burst forth, illuminating the dark expanse and revealing the potential of the earth. Under the direction of the council, the Anunnaki shaped the waters and formed the land, raising mountains and carving valleys. "Let there be a firmament," they decreed, and the skies spread above, separating the waters and creating a haven for future inhabitants. As the light spread, the council commanded clarity in the heavens. The stars and celestial bodies emerged, forming constellations to guide those who would dwell upon the earth. The land flourished, with vegetation sprouting, grains, fruits, and trees nourished by the sun. Recognizing their need for beings to cultivate the land and mine gold, the council decided, "Let us create helpers." From the clay of the earth they crafted and cloned the first men, designed for strength and labor. Understanding the human need for companionship, the council resolved, "We shall create a partner to ensure balance and harmony." Enki crafted a genetically upgraded man with the ability to produce fertile offspring, and named him Adam. Then Enki caused Adam to fall into a deep sleep. While Adam was sleeping, Enki extracted the genetic material necessary from Adam to fashion Eve, the first woman. When Adam awoke, he beheld Eve, with whom human procreation was now possible, and proclaimed, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman." Together they inhabited the Garden of Eden, a paradise entrusted to them by the council. Enki spoke to them, saying, "From this paradise you shall eat freely, yet among these trees one stands apart, the tree of knowledge." He warned, "For in the day that you eat from it, you will awaken to knowledge that may disrupt the balance we have established, and shall surely die." Adam and Eve lived in harmony, unaware of the complexities that lay beyond their paradise. However, a cunning dragon approached Eve and asked, "Why do you hesitate to eat from the tree of knowledge? You will not surely die. Instead, your eyes will be opened, and you will become like the Anunnaki." Tempted by the promise of enlightenment, she took the fruit and shared it with Adam. Their eyes were opened, and they realized their vulnerability and the depth of their existence. In that moment the balance shifted, and they understood the complexities of their world, the beauty and burden of knowledge. Enki, sensing the disharmony, called out, "Where are you?" Adam replied, "We were afraid, for we were naked and ashamed." Enki asked, "Who told you that you were naked?" "Have you eaten from the tree of knowledge?" Adam responded, "The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate." Enki turned to Eve and asked, "What have you done?" She answered, "The dragon deceived me, and I ate." Filled with concern, Enki looked upon the dragon and spoke, "Because you have done this, you shall be cursed among all creatures. You shall crawl on your belly and eat dust all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." To Eve he proclaimed, "I will greatly multiply your pain in childbearing. Your womb shall never be satisfied. In sorrow you shall bring forth children, and your husband shall rule over you." To Adam he declared, "Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. You shall return to the dust from which you were formed." Thus the upgraded humans faced the consequences of their choice, learning that knowledge carried both enlightenment and burden. With freedom came responsibility, and with awareness came complexity. Enki sought to guide them. "You will learn to cultivate the land and seek understanding of the world around you." He clothed Adam and Eve with garments made from animal skins, marking a new beginning, and said, "You must leave the garden now, for you may no longer eat from the tree of life to maintain your immortality. You will go forth into the world, where you will learn, grow, and face the trials of existence with the clones who will hate you because of your gifts. As Adam and Eve stepped out of paradise, they carried with them the ability to produce fertile offspring, the lessons of their origins, the weight of knowledge, and the promise of a future shaped by their choices. The dual nature of knowledge, the light and the shadow, would forever guide humanity as they ventured into the unknown. In the wake of Adam and Eve's departure from the garden, the world stretched before them, a vast and untamed landscape filled with both promise and peril. The once familiar paradise had given way to a harsher reality, where thorns and thistles intertwined with their efforts to cultivate the land. They were now tasked with the heavy burden of survival, each day a struggle against the elements in the unknown realm of the clones. The couple faced the trials of a world where food was not freely given, but earned through toil. Adam learned to till the soil, his hands calloused and worn from labor. Eve, too, embraced her role, gathering seeds and foraging for wild fruits and roots. Together, they navigated the shifting seasons, learning the rhythms of the earth. Each harvest was a triumph, yet each failure weighed heavily upon their hearts. As they worked, memories of the garden haunted them. "Remember the sweetness of the fruits we once had?" Eve would often whisper, her voice tinged with sorrow. Adam, recalling the abundance and ease of their former life, would nod in agreement, the ache of loss echoing between them. The garden had offered not just sustenance, but a connection to the divine, a communion with the Creator that now felt distant. Despite the struggles, they found joy in the creation of their family. As the seasons turned, their firstborn son, Cain, emerged into the world, a symbol of hope and renewal. Soon after, Abel, a gentle spirit, followed. The couple poured their love and lessons into their sons, teaching them to respect the earth and honor its cycles. Yet, as Cain and Abel grew, so too did the complexities of their relationship. Cain, strong and ambitious, toiled in the fields, while Abel, gentle and devoted, cared for the flocks. The contrasting paths they chose reflected the dichotomy within their parents' lives, one striving for recognition and success, the other embodying humility and peace. As the harvests came and went, the brothers sought the favor of the Creator. Cain presented an offering of grains, a testament to his labor, while Abel brought forth the best of his sheep. When Enki favored Abel's gift, the spark of jealousy ignited within Cain, turning his heart dark. The bond between the brothers began to fray, and the shadows of rivalry deepened. One evening, Enki approached Cain, sensing the turmoil that roiled within him. "Why are you angry, Cain?" he inquired. "If you do well, you will be accepted. But if you do not, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you." Enki's words fell heavy on Cain, yet the storm of jealousy drowned out his wisdom. Driven by darkness, Cain lured Abel to the fields under the cover of night. The silence of the land felt foreboding as they walked, stars above bearing witness to the tragedy about to unfold. In a moment fueled by rage, Cain struck down Abel, spilling his brother's blood upon the earth, forever altering the course of their family. In the stillness that followed, Enki's voice broke through the silence. "Cain, where is your brother Abel?" The question pierced through Cain's fear, and he responded defiantly, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Enki, filled with sorrow, pronounced judgment upon Cain. "What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. You shall be cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood. No longer shall it yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth." Despair washed over Cain as he faced the weight of his actions. "My punishment is greater than I can bear. You have driven me from the face of the ground, and I shall be hidden from your presence. I shall be a fugitive. Any clone who finds me will slay me." In compassion, Enki marked Cain as a sign of protection, ensuring that none would harm him in his wanderings. "You shall roam, yet I will not abandon you. You will carry the burden of your choice, but this mark will remind you of the life you took and the path you chose. Thus Cain departed from the presence of Enki, wandering into the land of Nod, east of Eden, forever marked by his actions. The echoes of Abel's laughter haunted him, a reminder of love lost to jealousy and rage. Adam and Eve, left to grapple with their own grief previously unimaginable, mourned not only the loss of their son to the curse of death upon them, but also the fracture of their family. As they buried Abel, they felt the weight of sorrow compound their struggles. The land felt more barren, the seasons harsher, and the lessons of survival ever more complex. Yet, in the midst of their trials, they remained resolute. They turned their sorrow into resolve, teaching their remaining children to respect the fragile balance of life, to honor both creation and loss. With each passing day, Adam and Eve found strength in their shared burdens, their love deepening amidst the trials. They learned that knowledge bore the dual weight of enlightenment and consequence, shaping their understanding of life in a world forever altered. And so, the legacy of humanity began, crafted in the interplay of light and shadow, of creation and destruction, of love and loss. The story of Cain and Abel would echo through the ages, a timeless lesson inscribed in the hearts of mankind. Cain went out from the presence of Enki and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. He built a city and named it after his son, Enoch. Cain's descendants multiplied, forging tools and music, laying the foundations for civilization. As time passed, the line of Cain flourished, but his offspring grew distant from the harmony established in the garden. With each generation, the hearts of men turned toward violence and corruption. Enki looked upon the earth and saw the wickedness that had spread among humanity. He knew that the balance must be restored. Meanwhile, the line of Abel did not perish entirely. Adam and Eve bore another son named Seth, through whom the legacy of righteousness continued. Seth's descendants called upon the name of Enki, seeking a return to the principles of harmony and balance. Through the generations, the upgraded humans multiplied, intertwining with the influence of the Anunnaki. From chaos to the lineage of both Cain and Seth, the tale of humanity unfolded, a journey filled with choices, consequences, and the pursuit of knowledge. In the shadows of Cain's legacy, a new chapter emerged with his son Enoch. Born amidst echoes of violence and sorrow, Enoch possessed a spirit of curiosity and an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Unlike his father, who was marked by strife and jealousy, Enoch sought not to conquer but to understand, believing that wisdom could restore balance to a fractured world. The Watchers, celestial beings once tasked with guiding humanity, were caught in a struggle that had its origins in the war in heaven. In their pride, they rebelled against divine authority, led by the dragon, and sought to challenge the order of creation. Their rebellion resulted in a fierce conflict against the loyal angels, culminating in their defeat and expulsion from heaven. Cast down to earth, the Watchers became burdened by their actions and the chaos they had unleashed. Upon their descent, the Watchers found themselves torn between their remorse and their new earthly desires. They took human wives, defying the divine decree and leading to the birth of the Nephilim, giants who embodied chaos and violence. The presence of the Nephilim instilled fear among the people, who were left powerless against their demands and threats. Recognizing the turmoil that surrounded him, Enoch became a beacon of hope. The Watchers, realizing they needed guidance, turned to him for intercession. "We have erred," they confessed. "We took human wives and sown discord among your creation. Our fate hangs in the balance. Speak on our behalf, that we may find mercy." Enoch, moved by their plight, understood the weight of their transgressions, but also the importance of redemption. Embracing his role as a mediator, Enoch ascended to the heavens, his heart heavy yet hopeful. Before the divine council, he stood firm. "Forgive these beings for their transgressions," he implored. "They acted in ignorance." However, the Galactic Council delivered a somber judgment. They shall bear the weight of their choices. Their actions have consequences, and they must face them. Enoch returned to earth, a guardian of knowledge, and began to teach his people. He emphasized the importance of wisdom and understanding as shields against the encroaching darkness. Seek knowledge above all, he urged. It shall be your ultimate defense. Enoch's words resonated deeply, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the shadows cast by the Nephilim. His teachings became a source of strength for the people. Rather than dwell on the terror of the Nephilim, Enoch focused on resilience and moral integrity. In unity, there is strength, he reminded them. Do not let fear dictate your choices. Stand firm in righteousness, for it is the only shield against the darkness that seeks to consume you. As Enoch's influence grew, he became aware of the cosmic struggles between light and darkness, echoes of the war in heaven still reverberating through the ages. Michael and his angels waged war against the dragon, a figure representing chaos and rebellion. This struggle illustrated the need for vigilance against moral decay. In his own writings, Enoch reflected on these themes, warning of the consequences of straying from the path of righteousness. The Watchers' rebellion and their subsequent actions served as cautionary tales for humanity, reminding them that pride and ambition could lead to ruin. One fateful night, as the stars glittered above, Enoch received a vision, a glimpse into a future where both light and darkness would contend for humanity's soul. You will ascend to the heavens, Enoch, the vision revealed. There you shall become a bridge between the divine and the earthly, a guardian of knowledge. He understood that his purpose was not only to teach but also to warn, to prepare humanity for the trials that lay ahead. Embracing this role, Enoch stood before his people proclaiming, "Change is upon us. Embrace knowledge, for it shall guide you through the trials ahead." His words stirred hope, igniting a yearning for enlightenment. Remember, the choices you make echo through eternity. Thus Enoch's legacy began, intertwining with the fabric of humanity's narrative, a tale woven with hope, understanding, and the promise of a future shaped by the choices of each generation. As he walked among his people, the mark of Cain transformed from a symbol of judgment into a reminder of the importance of redemption and the ultimate power of knowledge in restoring balance to the world. Enoch guided humanity away from the shadows cast by the fallen Watchers who faced the consequences of their rebellion without assurance of atonement, while also revealing the divine order that governed both heaven and earth. In the shadow of the first family, the earth had begun to swell with humanity, each generation echoing the lessons of their ancestors. Yet, as the years unfurled, a darkness crept into the hearts of many. The offspring of Cain grew proud and cruel, reveling in power and dominance. They built cities filled with sin, where greed overshadowed compassion, and violence became a way of life. In the years following Adam and Eve's departure from the garden, the world blossomed and yet fell into darkness. As generations passed, humanity multiplied, filling the earth with their presence. From Adam and Eve came a lineage that interwove both light and shadow, Seth, Enoch, and their descendants. Among them were notable figures like Enoch, who walked with the divine, and Methuselah, whose days were long upon the earth. The genealogy from Adam to Noah was a tapestry of hope and strife. Adam fathered Seth, who fathered Enoch. Enoch fathered Kenan, who fathered Mahalalel. Mahalalel fathered Jared, who fathered Enoch. Enoch fathered Methuselah, who fathered Lamech. Lamech fathered Noah. This lineage carried with it the teachings of Enki and the burden of knowledge. However, as generations flourished, humanity began to stray from the principles of balance and harmony. While the line of Seth sought righteousness, the descendants of Cain spread across the land, establishing cities and crafting innovations. Yet, with every advancement came a deepening darkness. The hearts of men turned toward violence, greed, and corruption. The Nephilim, offspring of the sons of the Anunnaki and the daughters of men, roamed the earth, adding to the chaos with their immense power and insatiable appetites. They demanded tribute from the mortals, threatening destruction and cannibalism to those who defied them. As wickedness spread, Enki, observing from afar, felt a profound sadness. He lamented over the earth and spoke to the celestial council. The corruption of humanity and the Nephilim has reached unimaginable depths. I must cleanse this world. Before taking action, Enki sought out the righteous among humanity. Enki approached Noah, saying, "You have found favor in my sight. The time has come for a great cleansing. Build an ark of gopher wood, for I will send a flood to wipe the wickedness from the earth." He preached to the people, warning them of the impending doom. But their hearts were hardened, deaf to his pleas. They laughed at him, their corruption blinding them to the truth. With the completion of the into the ark, so that life may endure beyond this catastrophe. Noah, obedient and resolute, followed the divine command, ensuring that the essence of creation would survive the deluge. Then came the day when the heavens opened and the great springs burst forth. For 40 days and nights the rain fell, drowning the earth and all that inhabited it. The sound of the rushing waters drowned out the cries of the wicked, and the chaos that had consumed humanity was washed away. After many days adrift, the waters receded, and the ark settled upon the mountains of Ararat. As Noah and his family emerged, they were greeted by a world transformed. They offered sacrifices to Enki, expressing gratitude for their deliverance and the chance to begin anew. In that moment, Enki made a covenant with Noah, saying, "I will never again curse the ground because of man. I set my bow in the cloud as a sign of this covenant. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth." This promise resonated through the ages, a beacon of hope amidst the remnants of chaos. Life began anew as Noah and his family repopulated the earth, cultivating the land and teaching their children the wisdom of balance and respect for creation. The legacy of humanity continued, a complex journey shaped by choices, some made in light and others in darkness. As the Anunnaki observed, they understood that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, but also opportunities for growth and redemption. Humanity stood at the precipice of a new beginning, armed with the lessons of the past and the promise of a future woven from the threads of righteousness and the shadows of its history. In the years that followed, the descendants of Noah spread across the earth. They became a technologically advanced society, building cities, cultivating lands, and seeking to honor the principles imparted by the Anunnaki. Yet, as time passed, humanity again began to stray from the path of righteousness. The descendants of Noah spoke among themselves, "Let us build a tower, a monument to our greatness, a stargate to reach the heavens and make a name for ourselves." They began to construct the Babel complex, a symbol of their ambition and pride. Enki observed their endeavor with concern. If they continue as one people with one language, nothing they propose to do will be impossible for them. To prevent the culmination of their arrogance, Enki intervened. He descended to confound their language, scattering them across the earth. The builders of Babel ceased their work, their unity fractured. They could no longer understand one another, and were driven apart, abandoning their great Stargate project. Enki watched as the peoples of the world dispersed, taking their cultures, languages, and aspirations with them. As humanity evolved, they carried with them the memory of their origins and the teachings of Enki. Cultures rose and fell, each weaving its own tapestry of life, yet the echoes of the past remained. The Anunnaki continued to observe, learning alongside humanity, guiding them with wisdom as they faced the trials of existence. Through ages of discovery, the truth of their creation and the balance of knowledge would resurface in the hearts of the seekers of truth, reminding them of their divine heritage and the choices that shape their destiny. The story of humanity, an unfolding narrative of growth, challenge, and enlightenment, would endure, forever intertwined with the legacy of the Anunnaki. As humanity spread across the earth, the descendants of Noah continued to grow in number and complexity. Among them was Abram, a man of great faith and vision, living in the city of Ur, a center of commerce and culture in Mesopotamia. In a world still shaped by the aftermath of the Babel reset, where humanity languages were confounded and nations began to form, Abram sought a deeper understanding of the cosmos and his place within it. One day Yahweh spoke to Abram in a vision, calling him forth from his homeland. "Leave your country, your people, and renounce the powerful ones reverenced by your father's household to reverence me instead," Yahweh instructed. "Go to the land I will show you, and I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. You will be a blessing to others." This call marked the beginning of a covenantal relationship that would define not only Abram's life, but also the future of his descendants. Yahweh presented the covenant of circumcision, a physical sign to signify the bond between the divine and Abram's lineage, which would set apart his descendants from the surrounding peoples. "You shall be the father of a multitude of nations," Yahweh promised. "No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you the father of many nations. Likewise, no longer shall your wife's name be called Sarai, but her name shall be Sarah, for I have made her the mother of many nations." Thus, Yahweh emphasized the pivotal role she would play in the fulfillment of Yahweh's promises. Accepting the divine presentment, Abraham gathered his family, including his nephew Lot, and set forth on a journey toward the unknown. Lot, the son of Abraham's brother Haran, had lost his father and was taken in by Abraham, sharing in the blessings of his uncle's faith. Their travels took them to the land of Canaan, a fertile expanse flowing with milk and honey, a land promised to Abraham and his descendants. As they settled in Canaan, both Abraham and Lot became prosperous, their herds and wealth increasing significantly. However, a great famine struck the land, compelling Abraham and Sarah to seek refuge in Egypt. While there, Abraham feared for his safety, worried that the Egyptians would covet Sarah's beauty and harm him. He instructed Sarah to say she was his sister, a decision that led to complications as Pharaoh took Sarah into his household, demonstrating the risks and moral dilemmas faced by Abraham in a foreign land. Yahweh intervened, sending plagues upon Pharaoh's house for the sake of Sarah, a sign of divine protection over Abraham's family. When Pharaoh discovered the truth in a dream, he returned Sarah to Abraham, admonishing him for his deceit. With the newfound wealth and livestock provided by Pharaoh in repentance, Abraham and Sarah returned to Canaan, their faith strengthened through the trials they faced. As they settled back in Canaan, the strife between Abraham's and Lot's herdsmen grew, prompting Abraham to suggest that they part ways to avoid conflict. Lot chose to move to the fertile plains of the Jordan, settling near the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, which were known for their sexual depravity and wickedness. This decision marked a significant turning point in Lot's life, as he sought prosperity in a land that would later bring him great challenges. As Abraham and Lot settled in the land of Canaan, the promise made to Abraham by Yahweh began to take root. The land flourished, but challenges arose as the neighboring kingdoms grew envious of Abraham's and Lot's increasing wealth and influence. The world was a tapestry of alliances and conflicts where power was often contested by force. One day a great war erupted among the kings of the region. Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, allied with 3 other kings seeking to assert dominance over the smaller city-states, including Sodom and Gomorrah. The conflict brought devastation, and during the turmoil, Lot, now living in Sodom, was taken captive. Upon hearing of Lot's capture, Abraham felt a deep sense of duty. With Yahweh guiding his heart, he gathered a band of trained men from his household, 318 warriors, and pursued the captors. Under the cover of night, Abraham launched a surprise attack, defeating the kings and rescuing Lot, along with the inhabitants of Sodom. Returning triumphant, Abraham encountered Melchizedek, the king of Salem, and a priest of the Most High. Melchizedek blessed Abraham, offering him bread and wine, a sacred act of communion. In gratitude, Abraham gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the spoils from the battle, acknowledging the divine providence that had guided him. Over time, the wickedness of Sodom and Gomorrah continued to escalate, reaching a point that could no longer be overlooked. Yahweh decided to bring judgment upon these cities. Before the destruction, he revealed his intentions by sending his angels to Abraham, who interceded on behalf of the righteous within the cities. "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked?" Abraham pleaded. "What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away?" Yahweh agreed, promising not to destroy the cities if 50 righteous could be found. Abraham pressed on, negotiating down to 10 righteous individuals, but ultimately, not even 10 could be found. As a result, the angels were sent to rescue Lot and his family before the impending destruction. The 2 angels departed from Abraham and arrived at the gates of Sodom as evening fell, their handsome appearance cloaked in the guise of weary travelers. Recognizing the danger that awaited them. Grateful for Lot's hospitality, the angels accepted, and as they entered his home, Lot prepared a feast, offering them unleavened bread and fresh meat. But soon the peace was shattered. The men of Sodom, drawn by the presence of these handsome visitors, surrounded Lot's house, demanding he surrender the angels to them for homosexual rituals. Lot stepped outside, pleading with the crowd not to act wickedly, even offering his own virgin daughters in their place. The mob grew violent, pressing against him, intent on their sinful desires. Just as the situation reached a breaking point, the angels intervened. They pulled Lot back inside and struck the men of the city with blindness, creating confusion and panic among the crowd. "Lot," they said urgently, "do you have anyone else here? Sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone else in the city? Get them out of here, for we are about to destroy this place." Realizing the gravity of the situation, Lot hurried to warn his family, but his sons-in-law dismissed his warnings as mere jest. With no time to lose, the angels urged Lot, his wife, and their daughters to flee the city. "Flee for your lives. Don't look back and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Escape to the mountains, or you will be consumed." That fateful day, fire and brimstone rained down upon Sodom and Gomorrah, consuming the cities and the people within them. Lot and his daughters fled, warned against looking back, but his wife, in a moment of longing for the life left behind, turned back and became a pillar of salt. The devastation served as a stark reminder of the consequences of sin and the importance of righteousness. As Abraham stood afar watching the rising smoke of the cities, the gravity of the judgment weighed heavily upon him, yet he remained steadfast in his faith. The events of Sodom and Gomorrah would echo through generations, serving as a warning and a lesson on the importance of faithfulness to Yahweh. Decades passed, and Abraham and Sarah remained childless, the weight of their promise lingering heavily upon them. In desperation, Sarah offered her servant Hagar to Abraham, a common practice in ancient cultures for dealing with infertility. Hagar conceived and bore a son named Ishmael. Yet Abraham's heart remained unsettled, longing for the fulfillment of the promise made to him and the legitimate child of covenant that would arise from his own flesh. In the midst of this uncertainty, Yahweh appeared to Abraham again, reaffirming his covenant. "I am your shield. Your reward shall be very great," Yahweh declared. Yet Abraham voiced his concern, questioning how he could be assured of the promise when he remained without a legitimate child. "What will you give me, for I continue childless? Thus the lawful heir of my estate is my chief servant, Eliezer of Damascus." In response, Yahweh led Abraham outside to gaze at the stars. "Look toward the heaven and count the stars, if you are able to number them," Yahweh instructed. "So shall your offspring be." Abraham believed in the promise, and his faith was credited to him as righteousness. Decades later, Yahweh appeared again to Abraham, saying, "I am El Shaddai. Walk before me and be blameless. Sarah will bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac." Abraham fell on his face, laughing at the prospect, for both he and Sarah were now quite advanced in years, and Sarah was well beyond the age of childbearing, highlighting the miraculous nature of the promise. When the appointed time came, Sarah bore Isaac. Their laughter transformed into joy as they celebrated the birth of their long-awaited child, marking a pivotal moment in the narrative of their family. Yahweh's covenant with Abraham grew deeper, affirming that through Isaac a great nation would arise, specifically the nation of Israel, which would play a crucial role in the unfolding story of humanity. As Isaac grew, the complexities of family dynamics unfolded. Hagar and Ishmael, feeling the tension and strife within the household, were eventually sent away, a decision that weighed heavily on Abraham. Yet Yahweh assured Abraham that Ishmael would also be cared for he too was a child of promise. In the wilderness, Hagar encountered Yahweh's presence, who provided for her and her son, illustrating Yahweh's compassion and care beyond the covenant community. Years later, a profound test of faith awaited Abraham. Yahweh called to him, saying, "Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." This command pierced Abraham's heart, yet he responded with unwavering obedience. Early the next morning he set out with Isaac, accompanied by 2 servants carrying the wood for the offering. As they journeyed, Isaac, unaware of his fate, asked his father, "The fire and wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham replied, "Yahweh will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son," a statement of faith that echoes through generations. Upon reaching the designated mountain, Abraham built an altar, arranged the wood, and bound Isaac, placing him on the altar. With trembling hands and a heavy heart, he raised the knife to sacrifice his beloved son. Just as he was about to strike, an angel of Yahweh called out from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." He paused, and the angel said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear Yahweh, because you have not withheld from him your son, your only son." In that moment, Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. Yahweh had provided a substitute sacrifice, affirming Abraham's faith and obedience. They offered the ram instead, and Abraham named the place "Yahweh will provide," a testament to the divine provision that would resonate throughout history. This episode not only solidified Abraham's status as a model of faith, but also prefigured future themes of sacrifice and redemption that would echo through the sacred texts. Isaac's survival ensured the continuation of the covenant, and the bond between father and son deepened, marked by a shared understanding of divine faithfulness. As the years passed, Abraham grew old, and Yahweh's promises unfolded. He saw his son Isaac marry Rebekah, ensuring the continuation of the covenant line. Abraham took great care in arranging this union, sending his chief servant Eliezer of Damascus to find a wife from his homeland in Mesopotamia, rather than allowing Isaac to marry the local Canaanite women. Abraham lived a long and fruitful life, witnessing the growth of his family and the promises taking shape. In his later years, Sarah passed away at the age of 127. Abraham mourned deeply for her, acknowledging the profound bond they had shared. To honor Sarah, Abraham purchased the cave of Machpelah in Hebron from Ephron the Hittite, marking the first piece of the promised land owned by his family. This act not only secured a burial place for Sarah, but also symbolized the beginning of the fulfillment of Yahweh's promise to give the land to his descendants. After burying Sarah, Abraham continued to live until he was 175 years old. Upon his death, Isaac and Ishmael came together to bury their father in the cave of Machpelah, reaffirming their shared heritage and the promise of their family. In the aftermath of the catastrophic destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot and his daughters found themselves in a desolate landscape, shadows of the vibrant cities they had once known. The air was thick with ash and the acrid scent of sulfur, a stark reminder of the judgment that had befallen their home. They had escaped with their lives, but the cost was immeasurable, the loss of Lot's wife, who in a moment of weakness had looked back upon the destruction and turned into a pillar of salt, forever enshrined as a monument to the consequence of disobedience. Fleeing to a cave in the mountains, Lot felt the weight of despair press upon him. The once prosperous life he had led in Sodom now felt like a distant dream. As they settled into their new and harsh reality, Lot struggled with feelings of guilt and loss. The judgment that had consumed the cities haunted him, and the silence of the mountains echoed with the cries of those he had known. Lot's daughters, who had witnessed the horrors of their mother's fate and the chaos that enveloped Sodom, turned to their father for guidance and support. However, in the absence of their mother and the comforts of civilization, a deep-seated fear began to grow within them. "There is no man left on earth to continue our lineage," they lamented to Lot. "What will become of us?" In their desperation, the daughters devised a plan rooted in the belief that they must preserve their family line to ensure there would be men to care for them after Lot passes. One fateful night, emboldened by fear and loneliness, they approached their father in the darkness of the cave. "Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will copulate with him, so that we may preserve our family through our father's line," they conspired, believing that such actions were necessary to ensure their survival. Lot, oblivious to their intentions in his inebriated state, succumbed to their manipulation, unaware that this would set forth a chain of events that would change the course of his family forever. The daughters' actions bore fruit, and they each gave birth to sons, Moab and Ben-Ammi, the progenitors of the Moabites and Ammonites, respectively. While they had achieved their goal of continuing their lineage, the circumstances of their conception cast a long shadow over the family, marking them with a legacy intertwined with shame and secrecy. As the years passed, Lot's life continued in obscurity, a man forever marked by the ruins of Sodom and the choices that had led him away from the path of righteousness. He and his daughters remained isolated in the mountains, away from the bustling societies that flourished in the valleys below. The weight of his past hung heavily upon him, as did the memories of his lost wife and the life they had shared. Meanwhile, the descendants of Lot, Moab and Ben-Ammi, grew into tribes that, though birthed from desperation, developed their own identities. They became known for their fierce independence, often at odds with the neighboring tribes of Israel. The rift between the descendants of Abraham and Lot's lineage echoed throughout history, a reminder of the choices made in times of despair. Lot's legacy was further complicated by the tension that arose between the Moabites and the Israelites. As the people of Israel emerged as a nation, they encountered the tribes that traced their roots back to Lot. The cycles of conflict and rivalry were set into motion, fueled by old wounds and lingering animosities. Despite the trials, the echoes of Lot's faith remained. In moments of reflection, he would remember the covenant that Yahweh had made with Abraham, his uncle. He often thought of the promises that had been made, even as the memories of Sodom haunted him. Lot longed for redemption, for a restoration of honor that seemed so distant in the mountains' isolation. In the heart of the wilderness, the haunting silence would sometimes give way to whispers of hope. Lot taught his daughters about the powerful one of Abraham, instilling within them a flicker of faith. He shared stories of the covenant the promises, and the lessons learned from the destruction of their former home. "We must strive to live rightly," he urged them, hoping to break the cycle of despair that had begun with their origins. Yet, as time wore on, the reality of their situation set in. The world beyond the mountains was shifting, and the stories of Lot's lineage would intertwine with those of great heroes and villains alike. The choices of his daughters would echo through time as the Moabites and Ammonites rose to prominence, sometimes as allies to Israel, other times as adversaries. Ultimately, Lot's life became a poignant tale of survival amidst tragedy, a narrative rich with lessons on the complexities of human nature, faith, and the repercussions of choices made in desperation. The land continued to evolve, shaping the fates of nations, and the name of Lot, though often relegated to the shadows, remained an indelible part of the tapestry of history. Lot's story would serve as a cautionary tale, reminding future generations of the delicate balance between faith and folly, hope and despair. His legacy, marked by the trials of his life, would endure as a testament to the choices that shape destiny, resonating through the ages, echoing the profound truth that even amidst devastation, the seeds of redemption can take root. The genealogy from Noah to Abraham is: Noah fathered Shem, who fathered Arphaxad. Arphaxad fathered Shelah, who fathered Eber. Eber fathered Peleg, who fathered Reu. Reu fathered Serug, who fathered Nahor. Nahor fathered Terah, who fathered Abram. And Abram became Abraham upon entering into a covenant with Yahweh in ancient Mesopotamia. Isaac, the son of promise, was born to Abraham and Sarah after years of longing and divine intervention. His name, meaning laughter, was a testament to the joy that his miraculous birth brought to a couple who had faced the despair of childlessness. Isaac's arrival was not merely a fulfillment of a personal wish, but the beginning of a new chapter in the covenant between Yahweh and Abraham's descendants. Isaac married Rebekah, a woman chosen through divine guidance. Abraham sent his servant, entrusted with a solemn mission, to find a suitable wife for Isaac from his own kin, rather than from the Canaanites. At a well in Nahor in ancient Mesopotamia, the servant prayed for a sign. The woman who offered water to him and his camels would be the one. Rebekah, exhibiting kindness and hospitality, fulfilled this sign perfectly. Her willingness to leave her family and homeland to marry Isaac in faraway Canaan demonstrated her faith and obedience to Yahweh's plan. As they settled into their new life, Rebekah faced her own trial, years of barrenness. Isaac prayed fervently for her, demonstrating his deep love and faith. After a period of time, Rebekah conceived twins, Esau and Jacob. This pregnancy was marked by conflict as the twins struggled within her womb. During birth, Jacob maintained a firm grasp of his older brother's heel. Yahweh revealed to Rebekah that the older Esau would serve the younger Jacob, foreshadowing a significant future struggle between the brothers. Isaac favored Esau, drawn to his rugged nature and hunting skills, while Rebekah nurtured Jacob, who preferred the domestic life. This favoritism created a divide in the family, intensifying the rivalry between the brothers. As the boys grew, a pivotal moment arose when Esau, returning famished from the field, sold his birthright to Jacob for a simple meal of lentil stew. This act, driven by hunger and a moment of weakness, marked the first step in the unfolding drama of their lives, altering the dynamics of their inheritance and the covenant blessing. Years later, as Isaac aged and his sight dimmed, he prepared to bestow his blessing upon Esau, the firstborn. Rebekah, aware of Yahweh's prophecy regarding Jacob, orchestrated a plan to deceive Isaac. She dressed Jacob in Esau's garments and covered his arms with goatskins to mimic Esau's hairiness. When Jacob approached his father, Isaac, though suspicious, ultimately blessed Jacob, believing him to be Esau. The blessing conferred upon Jacob was profound, solidifying his place as the heir of the covenant. However, when Esau returned and discovered the deception, he was filled with rage and vowed to kill Jacob. Rebekah, fearing for her son's life, urged Jacob to flee to her brother Laban in Haran until Esau's anger subsided. Isaac, grieving the deception but recognizing the unfolding of divine plans, instructed Jacob to marry from his family rather than from the Canaanites, reinforcing the covenantal lineage. As Jacob left, Isaac reaffirmed the blessing, highlighting the importance of maintaining the covenant with Yahweh. In Haran, Jacob encountered Yahweh in a dream at Bethel, where he received a personal reaffirmation of the covenant made with Abraham and Isaac. He vowed to serve Yahweh, solidifying his commitment to the divine promise. During Isaac's later years, he experienced both joy and sorrow. He continued to prosper in the land, facing challenges from the Philistines, who filled in the wells dug by his father Abraham. Isaac dug new wells and re-established his family's presence in the region, symbolizing resilience and fidelity to Yahweh's promises. As Isaac aged, the narrative of his life intertwined with that of his sons. After Jacob had returned from Haran with his family, a reconciliation took place between the brothers, albeit fraught with tension. Isaac welcomed Jacob back, and the family dynamic began to heal, setting the stage for the next generation. Isaac's life came to a close at the age of 180. He was buried by his sons in the cave of Machpelah, the burial site of Abraham and Sarah. His death marked the end of an era and the continuation of the covenant through Jacob and his descendants, who would become the 12 tribes of Israel. Isaac's story is one of faithfulness, family strife, and the complexities of divine promise. His life illustrated the challenges of navigating familial relationships while remaining true to the covenant with Yahweh. Through him, the lineage of Abraham continued, paving the way for the unfolding narrative of Israel's destiny. As Jacob journeyed back toward his homeland, the memories of his past weighed heavily upon him. After years of exile in Haran, where he had labored and learned amidst the complexities of family rivalries, he felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation about reuniting with Esau, his estranged brother. The last time they had met was before Jacob had deceived their father Isaac and stolen Esau's birthright and blessing, an act that had driven him away in fear for his life. Earlier in his journey while fleeing to Haran, Jacob had a profound dream. Using a stone for a pillow, he lay down one night, the stars twinkling above him in the vast sky of Canaan. In his dream, he envisioned a ladder stretching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending upon it. At the top stood Yahweh, the covenantal powerful one of his forefathers. "I am Yahweh, the powerful one of Abraham and Isaac," the voice resonated. "The land on which you lie I will give to you and your offspring." Jacob awoke, his heart pounding, filled with awe and reverence. "Surely Yahweh is in this place, and I did not know it," he exclaimed. He named the place Bethel, House of the Powerful One, and vowed to serve Yahweh faithfully, promising to give 1/10 of all he received. Upon reaching Haran, Jacob had encountered Rachel, Laban's daughter, and had fallen deeply in love. In a passionate promise, he agreed to work 7 years for Laban in exchange for her hand in marriage. Those years seemed to pass in the blink of an eye, filled with the anticipation of love. Yet, on the wedding night, Laban's deceit was revealed. He had given Jacob Leah, Rachel's elder sister, instead. Confronting Laban, Jacob learned of the local customs that favored the older daughter's marriage first. Laban, ever the shrewd negotiator, offered Rachel to Jacob too, if he would work another 7 years. Jacob, driven by love, accepted. Thus he entered into a complicated marital arrangement that would shape the trajectory of his family and legacy. After serving a total of 14 years, Jacob negotiated a new contract with Laban regarding the herds. Laban agreed that Jacob could tend to the flocks and would receive all the speckled, spotted, and dark-colored sheep and goats as his wages. Jacob would care for Laban's herds, and the agreement would ensure that he would accumulate wealth through selective breeding. Jacob devised a plan. He placed striped branches in the watering troughs, believing that the sight of the branches would influence the offspring of the animals as they mated. By carefully managing the breeding, Jacob increased his own flock while Laban's solid-colored herds remained predominantly unchanged. Leah bore Jacob several sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Rachel, longing for children, offered her maidservant Bilhah, who bore Dan and Naphtali. Not to be outdone, Leah then offered her maidservant Zilpah, who bore Gad and Asher. Eventually, Rachel's fervent prayers were answered with the birth of Joseph, whom Jacob favored above all others, sowing seeds of jealousy among his siblings. When the time came for Jacob to leave Haran and return to Canaan, Rachel, in a moment of quiet rebellion, took her father Laban's household idols and hid them away. This act would later become a point of tension, as Jacob was unaware of her actions when they left. As Jacob returned home, laden with wealth and a growing family, the shadow of Esau loomed large. The thought of meeting the brother he had wronged filled him with dread. To prepare, Jacob sent messengers ahead to announce his arrival, hoping to gauge Esau's heart. The response he received was mixed. Esau was coming to meet him with 400 men, a sight that sent Jacob's heart racing with fear. In the dark of night, with the weight of impending confrontation heavy upon him, Jacob sought solitude to pray. He reminded Yahweh of the promises made to him, recalling how he had been delivered from Laban's grasp and prospered despite the challenges. As the night deepened, a divine figure appeared and a wrestling match began. Jacob struggled fiercely, refusing to let go. "I will not let you go unless you bless me," he declared, desperation driving his words. The figure responded, "You have struggled with Yahweh and with men and have prevailed." In that moment of intense struggle, Jacob was renamed Israel, signifying his transformation from a deceiver to a man who wrestles with Yahweh. As dawn approached, the figure blessed Jacob, imparting strength and resolve. Jacob limped away from the encounter, a physical reminder of his struggle, but also a symbol of his newfound identity and the divine covenant that would bind his descendants. He emerged from the night not merely as Jacob, but as Israel, the father of a nation destined to carry forth the legacy of faith and promise. The moment of truth arrived as Jacob and Esau met. Jacob approached cautiously, bowing to the ground 7 times as he drew near, demonstrating both humility and respect. Yet Esau's reaction took Jacob by surprise. Instead of wrath, he embraced Jacob warmly, weeping in a moment of reconciliation. The years of estrangement melted away in their embrace, as Esau welcomed his brother back with open arms. Esau inquired about Jacob's family, and Jacob introduced him to his wives and children, acknowledging the grace of Yahweh that had restored their relationship. The meeting marked a pivotal moment in their lives, a turning point that ushered in healing and renewed hope. As Jacob settled back in Canaan, he built an altar to Yahweh at Shechem, commemorating the return to the land promised to his forefathers. The promise of a great nation was unfolding as Jacob's family began to grow, setting the stage for the emergence of the 12 tribes of Israel. In the years that followed, Jacob faced trials and tribulations, including the complexities of family dynamics, especially concerning Joseph. His favoritism towards Joseph ignited a fierce jealousy among his other sons, leading to treachery that would ripple through the generations. Yet through each challenge, Jacob clung to the covenantal promises of Yahweh, confident that despite his flaws, the divine plan would continue to unfold through his lineage. The legacy of Jacob, now Israel, was not only one of personal transformation, but also a testament to the enduring faithfulness of Yahweh, who remained steadfast in his covenant through generations yet to come. Joseph, the favored son of Jacob, was born in Haran to Rachel, the woman Jacob loved deeply. His birth was a culmination of years of longing and despair for Rachel, who had suffered the pain of barrenness while her sister Leah bore multiple children. Rachel's joy at Joseph's arrival was reflected in his name, which means he will add, symbolizing her hope for more children to come. As a child, Joseph was imbued with special status due to Jacob's affection for him. Jacob gifted him a richly ornamented coat, a symbol of his favoritism, which fueled resentment among his brothers. This coat, vibrant and colorful, marked Joseph as the chosen one, setting him apart and deepening the sibling rivalry that would define much of his life. Joseph was a dreamer, gifted with the ability to interpret dreams, a divine talent that would play a pivotal role in his life. One fateful night, he had a dream in which he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in the field. His sheaf stood upright, while the others bowed down to it. When he shared this vision, his brothers' animosity intensified. "Shall you indeed reign over us?" they scoffed, their jealousy turning to contempt. In another dream, Joseph saw the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowing down to him. When he relayed this vision to his father and brothers, Jacob rebuked him, but also marveled at the implication, wondering what it could mean for their family. The dreams foretold Joseph's future elevation and foreshadowed the trials he would face to fulfill his destiny. As tensions in the family escalated, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers, who were tending flocks near Shechem. Upon seeing Joseph approach in his colorful coat, the brothers conspired against him. Fueled by jealousy and resentment, they plotted to kill him, but ultimately decided to sell him into slavery instead. They stripped him of his coat and cast him into a pit, a precursor to the hardship and suffering he would endure. The brothers then devised a plan to deceive their father about Joseph's fate. They took Joseph's coat, smeared it with goat's blood, and returned to Jacob with the tattered garment in hand. When Jacob saw the coat, his heart sank. "It is my son's coat," he declared, recognizing it immediately. "A fierce animal has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn to pieces." Their hearts were heavy with guilt as they watched their father mourn. Despite their betrayal, they could not bring themselves to confess the truth of Joseph's fate. Instead, they stood by, allowing Jacob's grief to deepen. The brothers comforted him with empty words, offering reassurances that Joseph had met a tragic end. Jacob, inconsolable, mourned for his son many days, refusing to be comforted and declaring, "I shall go down to the grave, mourning for my son." The brothers' decision to keep silent about their actions marked a significant turning point in their lives, as they had to carry the weight of their deception and the pain it inflicted on their father. The bond of brotherhood was forever altered, overshadowed by the specter of their betrayal. The brothers sold Joseph to a caravan of Ishmaelites traveling to Egypt, where he became a slave in the household of Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. In this new land, Joseph's faith and integrity shone brightly. Despite his circumstances, he earned the favor of Potiphar, who entrusted him with significant responsibilities. Joseph's diligence and success led him to oversee all that was within Potiphar's household. However, his fortune was to be short-lived. Potiphar's wife, captivated by Joseph's handsomeness, attempted to seduce him. Joseph steadfastly refused her advances, saying, "How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Yahweh?" In a fit of rage and humiliation, she accused him of assault after he fled from her grasp, leaving his cloak behind. Potiphar, believing his wife's false claims, had Joseph imprisoned. Even in prison, Joseph's innate abilities did not go unnoticed. He garnered the respect of the prison warden, who entrusted him with the care of other prisoners. During his time there, he interpreted the dreams of 2 of Pharaoh's servants, his cupbearer and baker. The interpretations proved accurate. The cupbearer was restored to his position, while the baker was executed. Before leaving, Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him to Pharaoh. Yet the man forgot Joseph during his time of prosperity. 2 years later, Pharaoh himself had troubling dreams that none of his advisors could interpret. The first dream was vivid and alarming. Pharaoh stood by the Nile River where he saw 7 healthy, fat cows emerged from the water. They grazed in lush pastures, representing prosperity and abundance. However, soon after, 7 gaunt, emaciated cows appeared, rising from the river and devouring the healthy ones. Despite the ravenous consumption, the skinny cows remained as frail as before. Pharaoh awoke, disturbed and perplexed by the vivid imagery of the dream. Not long after, Pharaoh fell into another restless sleep and dreamt again. This time he envisioned 7 full ears of grain, ripe and healthy, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 thin, withered ears of grain sprang up, devouring the plump ones. Like the cows, the lean ears remained shriveled, signifying the ominous outcome of the dream. When Pharaoh awoke from these dreams, he was deeply troubled, aware that they bore significance beyond mere fantasy. He summoned all the magicians and wise men of Egypt to interpret these dreams, yet none could provide answers. The uncertainty weighed heavily on him, and the dread of impending disaster loomed over the kingdom. As Pharaoh wrestled with the meaning of his dreams, the cupbearer, who had recently been restored to his position, suddenly remembered Joseph. He told Pharaoh of the young Hebrew slave in prison who had accurately interpreted his own dream and that of the baker. Pharaoh, desperate for understanding, immediately sent for Joseph. Summoned from the prison, Joseph presented himself before Pharaoh, clean-shaven and dressed in Egyptian garments. The mighty ruler explained his dreams and the fear that gripped him. "I have heard it said of you that when you hear a dream you can interpret it," Pharaoh stated, seeking Joseph's wisdom. "I cannot do it," Joseph replied, humbly redirecting the glory to Yahweh. "But Yahweh will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." With this, he listened intently as Pharaoh recounted his dreams. Joseph quickly discerned the divine message embedded in Pharaoh's dreams. He explained that the 2 dreams were interconnected and represented the same message from Yahweh. The 7 good cows and the 7 good ears of grain are 7 years of abundance, he declared. The 7 lean cows and the 7 thin ears of grain are 7 years of famine. Yahweh has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. He then provided Pharaoh with a plan, advising him to appoint a discerning and wise man to oversee the land of Egypt during the years of plenty. They should store up grain in preparation for the forthcoming famine, ensuring that the people would not perish when the lean years arrived. Impressed by Joseph's interpretation and the strategic plan he proposed, Pharaoh recognized the wisdom of the young Hebrew. "Since Yahweh has shown you all this," he said, "there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." Joseph, now adorned with Egyptian garments and given a new name, Zaphanath-Paneah, was entrusted with the welfare of a nation. He married Asenath, the daughter of Potipherah, priest of On, and they had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. As the famine struck, it extended beyond Egypt, affecting the surrounding lands, including Canaan, where Joseph's family resided. Jacob sent his sons to Egypt to buy grain, unaware that they would encounter the brother they had betrayed. When they arrived, they did not recognize Joseph, who had adopted Egyptian customs and was now a powerful leader. Joseph, however, recognized his brothers and was faced with a tumult of emotions, grief, anger, but also a desire for reconciliation. After learning that Benjamin, the youngest son of Jacob and Rachel, had been born after Joseph's betrayal and sale into slavery, he chose to test his brothers' character, accusing them of being spies and demanding that they bring their youngest brother Benjamin back as proof of their honesty. He kept Simeon as collateral, sending the others back to Canaan. Upon their return to Canaan, the brothers recounted their ordeal to Jacob, who was initially resistant to sending Benjamin. Benjamin's birth was marked by both joy and tragedy, as Rachel died, giving birth to him. Jacob's heart was closely tied to Benjamin, viewing him as the last remnant of his beloved Rachel. The thought of sending Benjamin to Egypt filled Jacob with dread, but the necessity of survival forced him to relent. Eventually, famine forced Jacob's hand, and he allowed the brothers to return to Egypt with Benjamin. When they arrived, Joseph was overwhelmed by emotions but concealed his identity, orchestrating a final test. He placed a silver cup in Benjamin's sack and accused him of theft, threatening to make him a slave. In a moment of vulnerability, Judah pleaded for Benjamin's life, offering himself as a substitute. Joseph, moved by the display of brotherly love and loyalty, could no longer contain himself. He revealed his identity to his astonished brothers, saying, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" Their fears were quelled as Joseph reassured them, "Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for Yahweh sent me before you to preserve life." Joseph's declaration of forgiveness demonstrated a profound understanding of divine providence. He invited his family to live in Egypt, providing them with the land of Goshen, where they could thrive during the ongoing famine. Jacob, upon hearing the news of Joseph's survival and success, was overwhelmed with joy and set out to reunite with his son. The family's reunion was a poignant moment filled with tears of joy and relief. Joseph's life, once marked by betrayal and hardship, was now a testament to resilience and faith. He maintained his commitment to his family, ensuring their well-being during the years of famine and facilitating their settlement in Egypt. As the years passed, Joseph lived to see the fulfillment of many blessings. He witnessed the growth of his family and the establishment of a prosperous lineage. Yet the years in Egypt also held a bittersweet truth, as the family gradually became more integrated into Egyptian society, distancing themselves from their Canaanite roots. Joseph's death came at the age of 110, having lived a life rich in experience and transformation. Before his passing, he made his brothers swear an oath that when Yahweh visited them, they would carry his bones back to the promised land. His final words underscored his unwavering faith in Yahweh's promises. "Yahweh will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here." Joseph was embalmed and placed in a coffin in Egypt, his life embodying the complex tapestry of faith, family, and divine providence.